First Money Agent, you get to enjoy so much that the brand has to offer. Grow your social relevance as FirstBank financial agent in your community with business expansion possibilities due to increased awareness for your existing business and increased patronage too. Also, you get to earn extra income via commissions from transactions processed from being a First Money Agent. To enroll as an agent, visit www.firstbanknigeria.com/personalbanking/ways-to-bank/firstmoney or visit any FirstBank branch to get started. A First Money Agent can serve every Nigerian. Service offerings include cash deposits, cash withdrawals, funds transfer, airtime top-up and bill payments, account opening, BVN enrollment, and so much more. What are you waiting for? Partner with us. Become a First Money Agent today.
You first. FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hard-working Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two First Bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first. FirstBank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, oh. Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change your whole world. 894. It no matter if you no get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial *894# to get started.
You first, FirstBank.
FirstBank Nigeria is West Africa's premier bank. We have a presence in 6 African countries, offering diverse banking services to more than 32 million customers who speak 750 languages. We offer international banking services in London, United Kingdom, and Paris, France, as well as corresponding banking services in China. With an over 750 branch network, we serve the needs of individuals and businesses across all 774 local governments in Nigeria. We have over 11,000 employees who can communicate seamlessly in each of Nigeria's 250 languages and offer banking solutions tailored to local needs. We are committed to growing our people and the communities in which we operate. In 2020, we gave out 25,000 retail loans to pay school fees, upgrade learning facilities in schools, and help businesses stay afloat, all in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have empowered 100,000 Nigerians with extra income as First Money Agents. All 100,000 First Money Agents at every nook and cranny of the nation were always on hand to serve our customers in 2020. We are investing in growth and technology, and this is evident in our digital banking solutions, as more than 16 million customers carry out transactions every day via our First mobile app, our First online internet banking, and across 894 other channels. In 2020, we were open to our customers 24 hours a day and 7 days a week via our always-on contact centers. With our agents working round the clock, we resolved 50,000 customer complaints across all our call centers in 2020. With 2,892 ATMs across the nation and 11 million cards, individuals and businesses were given access to cash for successful transactions. Even at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are very social, with a community of over 4.2 million people across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We are continuously working to serve our customers better and to ensure that they have the best banking experience with FirstBank Nigeria.
Susie likes to live life on her own terms, and with her Visa prepaid card from FirstBank, she has no worries shopping abroad or paying locally, as her card comes in USD or Naira variant, and she enjoys the liberty of funding her card as she desires. Susie got her Visa prepaid card from the FirstBank branch nearest to her. It's valid for 3 years and can be personalized to suit her lifestyle. FirstBank Visa prepaid card can be used on any payment channel, ATM, POS, and web. And if you're a corporate business organization, the card can be used as your budget card to sort out business expenses. In addition, the card can be co-branded to showcase your business. So, get a FirstBank Visa prepaid card from any FirstBank branch and enjoy a budget card that suits you. You first. FirstBank. Susie likes to live life on her own terms, and with her Visa prepaid card from FirstBank, she has no worries shopping abroad or paying locally, as her card comes in USD or Naira variant, and she enjoys the liberty of funding her card as she desires. Susie got her Visa prepaid card from the FirstBank branch nearest to her. It's valid for 3 years and can be personalized to suit her lifestyle. FirstBank Visa prepaid card can be used on any payment channel, ATM, POS, and web. And if you're a corporate business organization, the card can be used as your budget card to sort out business expenses. In addition, the card can be co-branded to showcase your business. So, get a FirstBank Visa prepaid card from any FirstBank branch and enjoy a budget card that suits you. You first. FirstBank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You do not need to dey suffer to send money, Carry for make you down the number 894. the stand for life. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 and for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You First Bank.
FirstBank Nigeria is West Africa's premier bank. We have a presence in 6 African countries, offering diverse banking services to more than 32 million customers who speak 750 languages. We offer international banking services in London, United Kingdom, and Paris, France, as well as corresponding banking services in China. With an over 750 branch network, we serve the needs of individuals and businesses across all 774 local governments in Nigeria. We have over 11,000 employees who can communicate seamlessly in each of Nigeria's 250 languages and offer banking solutions tailored to local needs. We are committed to growing our people and the communities in which we operate. In 2020, we gave out 25,000 retail loans to pay school fees, upgrade learning facilities in schools, and help businesses stay afloat, all in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have empowered 100,000 Nigerians with extra income as First Money agents. All 100,000 First Money agents at every nook and cranny of the nation were always on hand to serve our customers in 2020. We are investing in growth and technology, and this is evident in our digital banking solutions, as more than 16 million customers carry out transactions every day via our First mobile app, our First online internet banking, and across 894 other channels. In 2020, we were open to our customers 24 hours a day and 7 days a week via our always-on contact centers. With our agents working round the clock, we resolved 50,000 customer complaints across all our call centers in 2020. With 2,892 ATMs across the nation and 11 million cards, individuals and businesses were given access to cash for successful transactions. Even at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are very social, with a community of over 4.2 million people across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We are continuously working to serve our customers better and to ensure that they have the best banking experience with FirstBank Nigeria.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Make you know the wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 and for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number 894 for me, 894 for you, 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You First Bank.
Good morning and welcome to FirstBank Vendor Engagement Session. My name is Chiome Wim, Head Vendor Management Unit Procurement Department, FirstBank of Nigeria. I want to share my screen so that I will present the slides. Welcome once again to this year's vendor engagement session. The theme of our event this The theme of this year's event is Strategic Alliance, the only way to succeed. And the event agenda is currently on the screen. Thank you and welcome once again. Before we start off this year's event, I would like to share some of the ground rules. Kindly ensure microphones are muted to enable us to not have any interference during the presentation. And then please send in your questions, your comments using the Q&A chat box on the screen. Questions and answers, the Q&A session will be addressed at the end of each presentation. Thank you very much. We now start off the event. I will introduce Mrs. Damilola Adisa, Head Subsidiary Finance and Capital Management, and the former Head Procurement Department. Welcome, Mrs. Damilola Adisa.
Thank you very much, Chioma, and a very warm welcome to our strategic partners again this year. It's our pleasure to have you on this call, as always. And again, we continue to emphasize our reliance on our strategic partners to be able to achieve our objectives in FirstBank. As you know, the bank has existed since 1894, and we're only able to continue doing this and remaining relevant because of the work that our strategic partners do for us to be able to meet our objectives. So again, this year's theme is focused on fostering a partnership with our vendors, a partnership that works. And our agenda today is focused on that. We have various topics of discussions that we're going to have with you today, which we hope you will enjoy and which we hope you'll be able to gain a lot from. Again, the goal of the bank is to continue to remain relevant in the industry as we continue to grow into a stronger, more secure and innovative institution. The roles that which our strategic partners play cannot be overemphasized. So again, we welcome you to this session. We do hope that it's going to be a fantastic one for you and you'll learn a lot from it. Some of the topics that we'll cover today will also focus on the challenges that we know you face as our strategic partners. We have various speakers that are lined up to discuss this with you today. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And having said this, I'll hand back over to Chioma again to continue with the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that warm welcome. I would now go to the next speaker, the Head of Procurement Department, Mrs. Titi Balogun. She recently joined the Procurement Department, and she will be giving a brief overview of the procurement strategy and our journey. Welcome, Mrs. Titi.
Thank you, Chioma, and thank you, Dabi, for setting the tone for the session. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual engagement session. This forum enables us to get feedbacks from you while providing information on our expectations to ensure we continue to have a mutually beneficial partnership. Our goal remains to achieve and sustain a best-in-class procurement function, hence the strong governance structure which has been maintained in the last 2 years. And we are particular about the choice of the business partners that we engage. We've made some changes in the last year, and I will take you through some of them and the impact it has on you, our business partners. So we've created a dedicated information portal on FirstBank website, and this addresses frequently asked questions and can also be accessed for supplier registration. The questions dropped at our last session in 2020 and the responses provided can also be accessed on the portal. So you can have guidance anytime you want to go through the things that have been asked in the last session. We'll display this link in the subsequent slide for your guidance. Another change we've made in the last year is the creation and deployment of the quarterly performance assessment surveys for you, our key business partners. So this evaluation is done by our end users, the end users of all the products or service that you render to us, and it covers the quality of this product and service. It also covers the resolution of time to issues raised by the end users. and of course, compliance to SLAs and contracts. The feedback of this assessment is usually communicated to our relevant business units and of course to our business partners. And we hold further engagement when we notice that the scores are below our expectation. You would agree with us that to meet our goals, there's a certain level expected from our business partners. And so we have this engagement so that we can review the root cause of the low scores and discuss how improvements can be achieved. We'll continue to monitor and track this, and we look forward to great performance and continuous compliance to agreed scope and terms of all the contracts that we have. Another change that we have implemented is that we now ensure execution of SLAs by delegated authorities before we process the purchase orders. And so at the bank's level, the line executive signs off. And so by the time we issue the purchase order, we understand what is expected of the bank and what is also expected of the business partner. And so to avoid ambiguity, this is what we have put in place. And you would have noticed this in the last couple of months. We've also commenced the issue of LCs and use of NOTAP certificates to facilitate payments. My colleague from Treasury will be taking a presentation on the issues on FX-related transactions for further guidance after these sessions. So in view of our theme for this session, which is strategic alliance, the only way to succeed, our expectation from our business partners is that the relationship is not a one-off and it is not a transactional one, but a partnership that will help us to both the bank and the partners improve competitive position and of course accrete value. We look forward to sharing of innovative ideas, which gives competitive advantage. We'll continue to demand for best quality products and services. And of course, the execution of projects timely and within budget, which is very particular to us. We are very emphatic about our governance structure in the procurement process, and so would expect strong adherence to this by our business partners. We're also very interested in the growth and stability of our partners, your businesses, and so we'll continue to emphasize on the need for you to have business continuity planning and management of all your functions. We have some presentations to buttress how we can continue to have a mutually beneficial relationship and some other information that is relevant to your business continuity. But we would also like to hear from you on ways, which is one of the reasons for this forum, on ways we can improve our processes. And so we'll be expecting that you please share questions, share your comments, and we will provide responses as much as we can during this session. And anyone we are not able to provide during the session, we'll definitely get back to you with documented information on that. So we'll address your concerns and we'll look forward to all that you want, all we have to achieve today. So once more, I welcome you and I look forward to having a very engaging session. Thank you. Over to you, Chioma.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Before we move on to our next speaker, I just want to remind us all we can send in our questions and comments using the Q&A chat box on the screen. And these questions will be addressed at the end of the presentations. Thank you once again. Our next topic is fostering a partnership that works. And our guest speaker is Mr. Bankole Williams. He is a certified life coach, career coach, a certified management consultant from the International Council of Managing Consulting Institute. He is also a fellow of the International Management Consultant Certification Board. Mr. Williams is the founder and principal consultant of LYD Consulting, a firm committed to delivering consulting interventions that lead to transformational changes. He is a consultant par excellence and a peak performance coach with proven excellence of helping organizations develop their human capital to work for greater work done. Welcome, Mr. Bankole Williams. Hello, Mr. Bankole. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me, Chioma. Okay, good morning, everyone. Please let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I do believe that you can. It's a pleasure being here. FirstBank, thank you for having me. I think that this is such an interesting initiative where the business and the vendors can come together to have specific discussions on how to foster and move the organization forward, not just the organization, but also the vendors forward. Okay, brilliant. I see that you can hear me. I'm going to proceed right now to share my slides. And I do hope that everybody can see my slides. Yes. Okay, so I will be speaking on fostering a partnership that works. Fostering a partnership that works. I do believe that you can see my slides. Okay, brilliant. You can see my slides and you can hear me. Fostering a partnership that works, or you can call it fostering a collaboration that works. Fostering a collaboration that works. My name once again is Bankole Williams. I am the CEO of LYD Consulting, a management consulting practice that is committed to helping employees of corporate institutions get great work done in less time so they can surpass the annual financial targets of their employers. So today, like I said, I'll be talking on fostering a partnership that works, but I want this to be as engaging as possible. I want us to have a really good time. So I'm going to guarantee something. I'm going to guarantee 100% satisfaction. I'm going to bring 100% of myself to ensure that you have a really good experience. I mean, even the business, FirstBank is going to have a great experience, but also the vendors are going to learn from this particular intervention that I'm bringing about. But it is imperative that whilst I guarantee 100% satisfaction, you should guarantee 100% participation. In the era of speaking online and having Zoom sessions, we don't see people's faces. Some of you, a good number of you, your cameras are not on. But what helps us know that you're following is your engagement in the chats, right? So I want to encourage as many people as possible to engage in the chats. If there are any high points, aha moments, and things like that, you can communicate them in the chat box. But beyond that, if I ask questions, please feel free to engage. Don't be the fly on the wall. Make sure that you are participating. So if we are agreed that we're going to do this together, in the comments, I want as many people as possible to say, I get you in the comments. So if you get me and you're going to be participating along with me, please just type that. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Abosede. Thank you, Benson. Fantastic. Thanks, Clara. It's an opportunity to also get to meet you people. Abimbola, Theodore, I see many of you commenting. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Good to know that we are all collaborating to make this work. So what is a collaboration? What is a collaboration, right? In very simple terms, what is a collaboration, right? I'm gonna simplify this as much as possible. A collaboration is when, or occurs when, two or more people or organizations work together in a mutually supportive way to complete a task or achieve a goal. I'll take that again. A collaboration occurs when two or more people or an organization work together in a mutually supportive way to complete a task or achieve a particular goal, right? So one of the first things I would like to talk about today, one of the first things that I need you to know for us to foster partnerships that work or collaborations that work is that a collaboration leads to the amplification of our outcomes. So this partnership that exists between FirstBank and the vendors, we need everyone, all the parties to be aware and conscious of the fact that when we work together, we are amplifying our outcomes or amplifying our results. And I'm going to show you something very, very interesting that I think will be very insightful to you. And I'm sure as you see this image on the screen, you're wondering to yourself, why in heaven's name is Bankole showing us the image of an agege bread seller? Now, I do recognize that there are some people who are listening to me who in their lifetime may not have participated in this particular delicacy, right? Or maybe once upon a time in your life, you used to purchase a bread like this that was being hawked, or maybe you still do, right? And I know that there are certain people who don't eat this kind of bread. This is the kind of bread you eat. You eat really fresh looking bread like this and not the popular agege bread and all. But I'm going somewhere with this, right? There's a reason why I am mentioning this or giving this analogy. And I do believe that there are probably people from other parts, maybe you're outside Nigeria and you're wondering what this is about. It's an interesting delicacy that we have in this country. I remember, I just remembered something. I remember back in the day, several years ago when I bought, one of these loaves, several years ago, not anymore, right? I remember that it had a label, right? And on the label, their intention was to write bromate free, but they wrote free bromate on it, right? So back to what I was saying about this bread. Now, I want to ask you a question. If the seller of this kind of bread, right, agege bread, decides to form an alliance with somebody that sells ewa agoin, some of you know what this is. This is beans in my country, Nigeria, right? Decides to form an alliance, a partnership with the person that sells ewa agoin. Please, in the comments, I want you to tell me, will they not sell or will they sell out? Please, somebody tell me in the comments. Will they not sell or will they sell out? Is this a partnership that works? Tunde says they will sell out, right? Better combination. They definitely will sell out. Adibusola, I see you, right? Bayode says they definitely will sell out, right? So this is a combination, or what I call a partnership that works, right? And both of them working together will lead to the amplification of their outcomes. So it is important that we understand that when we collaborate or we work together, so when FirstBank decides that it's going to work with vendors, that we're doing this so that we can amplify our outcomes. So it is important that we are mindful of the fact that this alliance that we have with the organization will make the organization better, but it would also make us better. I see all your amazing comments, right? They will sell more, the partnership will yield high returns for them. So that's the first thing I need us to understand, that effective partnerships are necessary because when we work together, it leads to the amplification of our outcomes, Moving on, the second thing I need you to know is that better connections lead to better collaboration. So we've established that our collaboration leads to the amplification of our results, but it's also important that we recognize that the better our connections, the better our collaboration. And I'm going to explain this. There are two kinds of connections that are important for partnerships. The first is what I call business connections. The second is what I call emotional connections. Now, for us to have business connections, our connections must be win-win. So we must win as vendors, but FirstBank must also win as the client. It must be a win-win, and we must be mindful of the fact that all parties are supposed to win. It's not just about me making money from the organization. It's also about the organization getting value as a result of the service that I render. I'm reminded of a real experience. There's this company, a smoothie bar that had opened up just beside, my office in Fola Oshibo in Lekki Phase 1, right? And after a couple of months, I noticed that the smoothie bar was no longer there, right? So several months later, I decided to join a gym. And as I was going up, to the gym, I noticed a kiosk, a small kiosk, just at the side of the staircase. And apparently that big store in Lekki Phase 1 had moved to a kiosk just beside the gym. And every day I would notice how people coming out of the gym will go to the smoothie bar to take their drinks, right? To take their smoothies, take their juices. Obviously, after you work out, you want to hydrate, but you are hydrating with something that's healthy. So that was a collaboration between the gym, or should I say the gym members, and the owner of the smoothie bar. Win-win. We want to hydrate, we take your smoothies. You want to make money, you sell your smoothies to us. So we both see and recognize that we are winning. The bank is winning, and the vendors recognize that they also should win, right? And we should protect the interest of the other party. Right? The second thing under business connections that we must understand is that our connections must exude the highest standards of quality, right? So you must ensure you bring quality because if you don't bring quality, it will be at the detriment of this collaboration and ultimately the business at large. If we cut back on quality in order to make profit, we are not doing the other party. We are doing all parties that are concerned, right? All parties that are concerned are going to be, at a disadvantage. Imagine the analogy that I gave you of the smoothie bar. If, for instance, the owner of the smoothie bar decides to use, products that are substandard or buys fruits that are cheap or are rotten, at the end of the day, people are going to have stomach upsets. They wouldn't come to the gym, so the gym is losing members. They wouldn't patronize the smoothie bar again because, they've gotten bad products and bad services from them. So ultimately, everybody's losing. I'm going to spend money on, trying to deal with the ailments that I've gotten as a result of the substandard products that you're using. So we must understand, for us to have good business connections, we must have the highest standards of quality. And we're doing this not just for our benefit, but also for the benefit of the larger community and the larger whole. I'm reminded of something that somebody said, and it's so true. Person said, he said that it takes several skilled people to build a house, but it takes one fool to destroy it. I hope somebody heard what I said. I said it takes several skilled people to build a house, but it takes one fool that decides, right, to compromise the highest standards of quality for everything to be destroyed. So we have built an alliance. We have over 288 people who are listening to this. We have connections as an institution, FirstBank, with our vendors. We have going relationships that have been happening for several years, right? Even as we have built this, let us ensure that we have the highest standards possible, because when we compromise on standards and quality, it will ultimately affect this institution that we have built. So it is important that you recognize that, right, for us to make business connections. But beyond business connections is the fact that it is imperative, it is important that we establish emotional connections, Our connections must be premised on rapport. So FirstBank is doing business with another organization, but we must understand that we're not just doing business with another business. We are doing business with people in that business. So vendors are not just doing business with FirstBank. It is people in the business that are doing business with FirstBank. And human beings are emotional beings. So for us to facilitate a good collaboration, we must establish strong emotional connections. And this is so critical. And I see a lot of people take this for granted. It is important because human beings are emotional beings. And for you to be able to make great connections, we must establish a rapport. The people, who manage the business within FirstBank must ensure that they have great emotional connections and good rapport with the people that are working, with their vendors. And when we do so, rapport is the degree of cohesiveness that facilitates the ease of doing business. I'll take that again. Rapport is a degree of cohesiveness that facilitates the ease of doing business. So when we have strong emotional connections within the institution and with all the different stakeholders, it makes doing business easy. When we have hate in the system, right, or when there are rifts between the business and the people who work in the vendors' organizations, when there are those kinds of rifts, it does not create the ease of doing business. So it is important to get beyond whatever thing is getting in the way of our connections. It is important to establish what I call the likability factor. I'm reminded of a story, true experience that I had. Several years ago, I did my NYSC, my youth service in Kaduna State. And I did my NYSC in the time of the DG of NYSC who, had a thing for not reposting people. So it was said then that to redeploy from your primary posting was like passing through the eye of a needle, right? My mom's My mom's friend knew his wife. His wife said, I know my husband, we can't change your posting. By the time I got to Kaduna, I met a lot of other disgruntled coppers like me who were upset about their postings, right? And one day on our parade ground, several years ago, on our parade ground, they made an announcement that the DG was going to come the next day. And I heard coppers saying, if the DG comes, we will boo him. We will not clap. That man is a wicked man, right? So the following day, when it was time, for the DG to come up, we were all on the parade ground. They announced the DG's name. Please, everybody put your hands together for Walter Oki, and people did not clap. Some people at the back were booing him. And this man, being aware of the importance of establishing rapport, being aware of the fact that human beings are emotional beings, this man proceeds to sing a song by a legendary Nigerian musician that everybody likes. The musician is Fela Anikulapo Kuti. So he sang his song, Water E No Get Enemy. And then he decided to insert his own name. So this man proceeds to sing and he says, Walter E No Get Enemy, Oki Olota, and proceeds to point the microphone to the audience. And everybody starts singing, Walter E No Get Enemy. And right there and then I was confused. I was looking at the people who were saying that they would stone him and they were singing. Looking at the people who said they would boo him and they were singing. This man was so phenomenal in establishing rapport that at the time he was done with his presentation, people were whistling, people were clapping, people had imbibed all his recommendations, and it just made me realize how powerful this principle of establishing connections is. And it is important that we recognize that we're not just dealing with institutions, but we're dealing with human beings who are emotional beings in the institutions. You want to facilitate collaboration, establish great connections. Are we learning? If we're learning, in the comments, I want you to say, I am flowing, I am flowing, I'm flowing. Just say that. I want to be sure that you're flowing with me. So that is the second thing that I want you to recognize. The third thing that is important for fostering, right? Okay, I see all of you saying we're flowing, amazing. The third thing that I'd like to share that is important for us to foster great collaborations is better communication leads to better connection. Better communication leads to better connections. And I'm going somewhere with this, right? So I want you to see this image on the screen right now, right? So this is the image of a truck or a trailer. So I want to ask as many people as possible in the comments, how many of you have ever driven a trailer? Is there anybody here who has ever driven a very long vehicle, right? A trailer or a truck? Frank, in Digwe, you're here. I see you. You say you have driven one. Now, Frank, please in the comments, can you tell us, right? If you want to make a U-turn with a trailer or a truck or a long vehicle, what is that experience like? Is it an easy one or is it a hard one, right? Is it an easy one or is it a hard one? Somebody says yes. Please let me know, right, in the comments. Frank, you've driven a trailer before. Is it easy to make a U-turn, right, with a trailer? Do you have to start preparing before you get to the U-turn, or you can just make the U-turn at the U-turn, right? Somebody says it's not easy at all. Peter says no. Frank says very hard. You have to get into many gears. I'm not sure I know what that means because I've never driven a trailer, right? It's a calculated risk. You have to start preparing long before you get there. Fantastic, fantastic. Ajiboye says it's not easy at all, right? You have to start preparing before you get there. Fantastic. I'm going somewhere. Now I'm showing you another vehicle, right? Another vehicle. What's this vehicle? I'm sure all of you know it's a Kia Picanto. Now, if you've ever driven a Kia Picanto before, right? I want you to tell me in the comments, if you want to make a U-turn, do you have to start preparing before you get there? Is it an easy or a hard experience? Please let me know. Is it easy or is it hard? Right? Easy peasy. They always say it's easy peasy, right? It's very easy. You don't have to prepare. In fact, you just get there and you make a U-turn. You can even make the U-turn with one hand, right? Very easy, beautiful. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm really going somewhere with this particular thing. Now, if you want to establish good connections, remember what I said, good connections must come with good communication. So to say that this is how I am, and based on how I am is how I am going to relate with you, is the same thing as using the understanding, or let me ask a question before I even make that statement. Let me ask a question. If someone with the experience of driving a Picanto decides to use that experience to drive a trailer or a truck, in the comments, can you tell me what will happen? If somebody uses the understanding of driving a Picanto to make a U-turn, Abosede says catastrophic. Tunde says crash, epic failure. It would be a risk, a disaster, accident, fantastic. So if you use the understanding of a Picanto to try to make a U-turn with a trailer, it will be dangerous. It won't work. You will have an accident. So to enter a collaboration and then use the understanding of how you operate, right, to communicate is equivalent to using the understanding of a Picanto to make a U-turn with a trailer. I hope somebody's getting what I'm saying. So in a collaboration, if you are fixated on how you are and you are focused on your configuration at the expense of the configuration of the other party, it will be catastrophic. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is so critical for us to be able to collaborate. It is important that we take into cognizance the configuration of the other party so that we can establish good communication for us to collaborate properly. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is critical. And to just go by your own rules of operation alone, right, and say this is how we are, this is how we do it alone, it will lead to accidents. It would be catastrophic. So this is a very vital point, and I really want to stress it here, right? Very, very vital point. And this is why people encounter different issues. So the fourth thing here is a better understanding of configuration makes better communication. So a better understanding of the other party's configuration makes better communication. Do you understand what I'm saying? Very critical. And what is this configuration? A configuration is a set of rules of operation. And in the course of this particular, session that we're having today, different departments, I do believe, are going to be delivering presentations on the set of rules of operation, right? The configuration that is necessary for us to operate. And it is imperative that we pay attention, because why you do what you do is more important than what you do. If you understand the why, sometimes even that why is because the organization is even trying to protect your interest. If we understand the why, it would help us communicate better and ultimately help us collaborate better. I hope you understand, where I'm coming from. If you get me, if you get me in the comments, just say I get you, Bankole, right? If this is really, really touching, the right points, right? Please just let me know in the comments that get flowing and you get me. And this is one of the reasons why we have a forum like this, right? One of the reasons why I have a forum like this, so that we can understand your configuration, right? Thank you very much. I see all of you saying I get you. We can understand your configuration so that we can establish great collaborations within this particular institution, Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to recognize that two heads are better than one. FirstBank needs you the same way you need FirstBank. And when we come together, right, and we collaborate, we come up with the best ideas. And these best ideas that we come up with would lead to great profitability, not only for FirstBank, but also for our vendors. Even as I round up, I want to just share the 4 points which I had shared earlier, right? And I want to summarize them for you to get them. And I'm going to start from the very last one, and I'm going to go from the last one all the way to the first, right? Number one, better understanding of configuration leads to better communication. I must understand how you operate for us to be able to communicate smoothly. Number two, better communication makes better connections. When we communicate better, when our communication is clearer, we make better connections, right? When we establish rapport, we make stronger connections, right? Number three, better connections make better collaboration. So when we connect well, we then can collaborate. And number four, better collaborations lead to the amplification of our outcomes. It is important to recognize that it must be a win-win. Vendors bring something to the table, FirstBank brings something to the table. Never should any party think that they are doing the other party a favor, even if you are the one paying the money. Oh, I need to take this again. I said, never should one party think that they are doing the other party a favor, even if you are the one paying the money. It is important that we recognize that we are getting something from our vendors, the same way the vendors should recognize that we're getting something from FirstBank. We should never get to a point where we feel like, it's a privilege for the other party to be doing business with us. No. We should always go the extra mile to ensure we protect the interest of the other party, because when we collaborate, we amplify our results. And if we don't get it right, remember what I said, it takes a lot of skilled people to build a house. It takes one fool to destroy the house. And I hope that with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you that if you apply these principles, we can foster a better collaboration, better partnership in this institution. Thank you very much. I do believe that this has been helpful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bankole. Those were really great points. And for me, both parties should bring value to the table for a mutual collaboration that will bring better outcomes between us. Thank you so much. And please, again, send in your questions using the Q&A chat box. Also send in your comments using the chat box below. There are no questions right now, but when you do send in your questions, we will address them as we go forward. Thank you once more, Mr. Bankole. Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Olarewaju. He is representing the Chief Compliance Officer, Mrs. Adeyemi Ugumoyela, the Chief Compliance Officer, and he will be speaking on regulatory compliance as it relates to our partners. Thank you so much, Matthew, and welcome.
All right, thank you, Chioma. And then I would like to take the conversation right from where the last speaker ended it. The last speaker mentioned the need for communication, the need for connection, the need for collaboration for the ultimate goal of amplifying our outcomes. At the heart of every strategic partnership are two critical issues: the issue of profitability and the issue of sustainability. But there is no way we can achieve both outcomes or amplify them without the instrumentality of compliance. That is why this session is so critical, and that is why we'll be running through some key policy trusts that will guide our relationship and foster the strategic partnership that we desire. So I begin by telling you that the compliance department of the bank is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that operational risk that may affect the strategic partnership or the outcomes of this strategic partnership are well managed. And part of this risk that I would like to highlight here will include compliance risk, which speaks to the need or the necessity for every stakeholder in the partnership to ensure that all laws, all rules, all regulations, policies and procedures are complied with. Again, that will now be very important when you look at the importance of ensuring that our compliance risks are well managed, because our reputational risk would have been managed in a way. And what is this reputational risk? That is the risk that maybe our customers who are disgruntled or dissatisfied, or perhaps violation of laws and regulation will not lead to public negative news, or will not lead to public enforcement actions, whether against the vendor or against the bank. Again, there is another risk which borders on transaction risk. And all these impact this partnership that we are fostering, or we intend to foster here. Because when you look at the transactional risk, it will include such risk or problems associated with service, the channels of delivery, or the mode of executing such transactions. Another risk, which is very important that we are aware of as partners in progress, is the operational risk, which speaks to the tendency or the risk associated with losses that can arise from failed processes or systems or data, as the case may be. This can result to confidentiality and privacy issues, and ultimately, it will have negative impact or consequences on the strategic partnership. Another one is the credit risk, which is also of significant importance when you are talking about strategic relationship and the need to foster one for the outcomes that have earlier been mentioned. So in order that all these risks, having been aware of all these risks, and to ensure that they are well mitigated, there are some policy documents that are in place. There are some policies that have been enshrined within the ambit or within the conference of the relationship to ensure that at the end of the day, the vendor is a win-win situation. The vendor is happy, the bank is happy, and the relationship again is bringing forth its strategic outcome. So among these key policy trust of the bank is the anti-bribery and corruption policy. And that is the policy that sets the minimum acceptable standard when it comes to what is required of all stakeholders, of all partners of FirstBank. For instance, in FirstBank, we have a policy that prohibits bribery, that prohibits corruption. And in this forum, I would define bribery as the act of offering, the act of promising, or the act of giving any form of financial advantage to another person. And the objective of such financial advantage would be to induce or reward that person so that the person acts in a way which is reasonable to the person or we consider improper in the long run. Such come with their consequences, because even it's a criminal offense to offer or accept bribe, and we expect our vendors, again, to comply with that requirement that says bribery is prohibited. The twin to that would be corruption, and is also prohibited as well, because that's any form of abuse of any entrusted position or status that you may have in a way to garner private gain, and that may not be totally separated from bribery. So these two criminal acts are prohibited by every standard in FirstBank. It should not even be mentioned among our vendors. It should not be mentioned even within the definition or description of the relationship that we have with our vendor. Acts of bribery and corruption, they tend to becloud the sense of reasoning, sense of sound judgment. And that is why the bank is saying no to any form of facilitation payments. The bank is saying no to any form of reciprocal agreements. The bank is saying no to any form of donation associated with our vendor. The same way every employee or every stakeholder should know that these two acts are prohibited within the ambit of the bank's policy. Again, there is a policy on giving of gifts and receipt of gifts. For us in FirstBank, It's a no-no for cash gifts. It's a no-no for any item that offers value. Value can be in form of loan, it can be in form of cash, it can be in form of discounts, it can be in form of prices, products, or anything of value whatsoever. For our vendor, it's not expected that any one of you will receive or give gifts, because when such items of value are given, the effect is better imagined than experienced. Again, it can include anything given to our employee or their immediate family members for which they derive any form of benefits. And this policy prohibits the following: cash valued items, including prepaid cards, excessive, lavish, or frequent gifts or entertainment. Any gift or entertainment provided in direct exchange for a reciprocal action. Gifts provided during a competitive bid process or contract negotiation. Any item that might present an appearance of impropriety, conflict of interest, or undue influence. Any item or entertainment that is illegal, sexually explicit, involving gambling, and would otherwise violate our values or our standards of business conduct. Anything whatsoever that may cause embarrassment to our brand as a bank or damage our reputation as a bank, all these are prohibited within our policy on receipt of gifts and hospitality from third parties. The next one is the third-party code of conduct, which sets the minimum acceptable standards when it comes to conduct and behavior, ethics and norms, responsibilities and practices that the bank expects from our vendor. I believe that every vendor on this call would have executed this third-party code of conduct, but beyond the ritual of execution, it is expected that vendors will show high level of commitment to the provisions and requirements of this code of conduct. In summary, third-party vendors must be committed to treating their workers with respect and dignity. This is a requirement by the provision of the code of conduct for our third party. So we expect that every vendor will treat his own worker with respect and dignity, because ultimately, maltreatment or unfair treatment of our workers will have negative effects on the reputation of the bank. Again, our third-party vendors are required by the provision of this code of conduct to never to engage in or support any form of discrimination or unfair treatment, because again, protection of the interest of whoever our vendors are dealing with should be an ultimate concern, a primary concern, because the bank's code of conduct encourages non-discriminating practices which strive to ensure fair treatment. What of the working hour requirements? The national law and the relevant collective agreements are clear about the minimum acceptable standard when it comes to working hours. There are some odd hours that we don't expect our vendors to engage in any service or anybody to work for. Payment of all employees of our vendors, their compensation and reward must be fair enough in accordance with the dictates of extant national laws, regulations, including even the requirement or need to pay for overtime when the need arises. Then when it comes to employment of minors, the bank prohibits any form of child labor. And that is why, and that is in line with the Labor Act, the acceptable minimum age which the bank recommends for all vendors and all our partners is 15 years of age. In all, there should be no form of violation of this code of conduct. Like I said earlier on, beyond the routine of just signing, executing it at the point of onboarding and this maybe engagement, it's expected that every vendor will sit with this code of conduct, internalize its requirements and provisions, and live by the requirements and be able to ensure compliance with its requirements. The next one is speaking to conflict of interest and related party transactions. For us as a bank, conflict of interest means any form of personal, occupational, or financial consideration which may affect or which may seem to even affect a director, a staff member, and in the process, declouds the sense of reasoning, objectivity, or judgment, so that such a director or such a staff is put in a position where he can no longer act in the best interest of the bank. And for related party transaction, that means, that would mean the transfer of resources, services, or obligations between related parties. And this is irrespective of whether price is charged or not. So if we understand this definition of conflict of interest and related party transaction in the light of our policy, then our expectation as a bank from our vendors will mean that disclosure of any relationship that you may have with any of our director or staff of the bank by executing the vendor information or related party interest form will be required when you become aware of such a relationship. Again, all vendors are expected to complete the form and declare any potential or existing conflict of interest and related party transactions with the bank. It must be noted, and that has to be emphasized again, that non-disclosure of such interest will lead to blacklisting, and that will not foster strategic partnership in the long run. The next policy I would like to touch on is the whistleblowing policy of the bank. Whistleblowing means the act of reporting alleged unethical conduct of employees, management, or directors, in fact, of any stakeholder, such that where I see anything that is suspicious, where I see anything that is unethical, and where I see anything that is considered substandard when it comes to normal practices, norms, and requirements of maybe regulation, law, or policy, I am quick to report. And it's expected that for us in FirstBank and for our vendors, whenever they see any act that is unethical, whether it relates to any of our stakeholders, to our employee, to our management, it's expected that such acts are reported. That is why the whistleblowing channels of the bank permit both internal whistleblowing and external whistleblowing. So for our vendors, they are expected to make use of any of these channels here, whether through a formal letter to our managing director or to our chief audit executive, to the chief compliance officer of the bank, or to the group head of our internal control and enhancement group. So by sending a letter to any of these principal officers of the bank, you might have reported and you might have complied with the requirements of the whistleblowing policy of the bank. Again, we have dedicated phone lines that can be used to whistleblow whenever you suspect or you have reason to suspect unethical conduct. On our website today, there is a form there which can be used to submit any report that borders on misconduct. You can also send a mail to our dedicated whistleblowing email, whistleblowing@firstbanknigeria.com. And if you have done all within the bank and you still feel you want to whistleblow, the regulator also welcomes or encourages whistleblowing. That is why there is a dedicated phone, there is a dedicated email address that sits with the CBN, anticorruption@cbn.gov.ng. It is a crime, again, to see anything that borders on misconduct or unethical conduct and keep quiet. In case that is detected, in case it is identified, regardless of who is involved, please blow the whistle through any of these channels that have been mentioned. In all this, and to summarize our expectation from our vendors, please do not offer bribes to our staff or on our behalf for any reason whatsoever. Do not offer any gifts, that is anything of value, for any reason whatsoever. And do not even give tips or hospitality to our staff. We frown and have zero tolerance for all these infractions because they are regulatory in nature, and we don't want to be found as a responsible corporate citizen on the wrong side of the law. The bank is your customer, not the staff. So please, that should resonate with every vendor. In our relationship, in our strategic relationship, you don't have a direct relationship with our staff. You only have that direct relationship with the bank. And if you understand that, definitely you will understand why all these acts are prohibited. Please always ensure good conduct, because good conduct equals good business. Where you don't have that compliance culture, or where you don't have that good conduct, you can't say you are in a good business. So please ensure that whatever you are doing, you place at the heart of it responsible business conduct. This is also very important because what affects you also affects us as a bank. Do not forget it's a collaboration, it's a synergy, and we must make that synergy to work. Disclose all related party transactions. That has earlier been mentioned in the course of my presentation. This speaks to transparency and integrity as our partners in this business. We encourage whistleblowing. Please report all forms of violation, all forms of unethical conduct. It is in your best interest to do so. It is in our best collective interest to ensure that we whistleblow when the need arises. Again, the bank also encourages transparency and integrity. In fact, we have zero tolerance for anything that borders on integrity, because our brand will be adversely affected if we don't promote transparency and integrity. In a forum of this nature, and because we are discussing strategic partnership, the issue of data is so critical. This is further made so by the requirements of the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, which was issued in 2019. That speaks to the minimum acceptable standard when it comes to data protection. It speaks to how we should safeguard the rights of data subjects in our processes, in our businesses, and even in our procedures. And there is no exception to this protection, the need to protect data. That you have access to data does not give you rights unless the right is guaranteed within extant laws. Third parties are required to implement reasonable measures that will go a long way to protect the interest of their data subjects. Again, if they have access to the data of our own customers, it's expected that highest level of protection is put in place to safeguard the privacy and the confidentiality of those data. Third parties are required by the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation to be compliant in their doing business. That is by protecting the integrity, the confidentiality, and the accuracy of the data that is in their custody. In conclusion, and because of our time, the strategic partnership we are fostering here is to ensure that ultimately we comply. We comply by being law-abiding. The laws are so clear about the minimum acceptable standards. There are a lot of policies which have been mentioned here and which requires that every vendor will familiarize themselves with these requirements and again, ensure that they comply with the requirements. In your own business and in our partnership, please ensure good compliance culture. By reinforcing good compliance culture, we are reinforcing good business practice. Always maintain transparency and integrity. Report all forms of violation. This will ultimately promote sustainability and profitability, because it will not be a good business partnership if we don't avoid what we need to avoid and if we don't do what we need to do right. And the consequences of compliance can be huge. It can rub off on our brand, it can rub off on our license. And that is why in a forum of this nature, we always emphasize it, that compliance should be at the heart of this partnership, because that is the only way to foster strategic and sustainable business relationships. So I'll pause here in case there are questions, in case there are concerns for me to address on this presentation. Thank you so much for your listening pleasure.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you for reminding our vendors about the FirstBank Code of Conduct, the gift policy, the bank stand on bribery, and also providing the channels for whistleblowing. Thank you. The chat box, let's just look use the Q&A chat box to see if there are questions sent to you. There are none for the compliance theme right now. So, but if we do get any questions as it relates to compliance, we would share that with you so that you provide feedback to our partners. Thank you once more, Archie.
Thank you, Choma.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for staying on with us through this event. Our next topic of discussion is on information and cyber security, the emerging risk. And our next speaker is Mr. Emmanuel Okoroji. He is representing the Chief Information Security Officer, Mr. Harrison Naji. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Okoroji. I head the Threat Intelligence and Incident Response Management team. I'll be representing the CISO in today's webinar and engagement with the vendors. You're all welcome. I will start off by saying that the chain of security is as strong as its weakest link. And this
Sorry, Emmanuel.
Hello?
Okay, now your camera is better. Thank you.
Yeah. So as I said, my name is Emmanuel. I'm representing the CISO, that is the Chief Information Security Officer of FirstBank. I will start off by repeating this popular slogan that states that the chain of security is as strong as its weakest link. Collaboration is almost everything when it comes to information and cybersecurity. Sorry, Chema, can you move the slides for me? Okay. So basically, we'll be speaking on information security. And to start with, sorry, the next slide, please. An overview of cybersecurity. As we are all aware, globally and even locally, cybersecurity is taking a prominent place when it comes to risk. Global organization and organization within the Nigerian space is continuously bedeviled by the actions of threat actors and cyber criminals. I'm sure we are all too familiar with these happenings, especially following the pandemic, the lockdown, and then the open systems, and then reliance on the internet for connectivity and also for transaction. So cybersecurity has become a focus for most global and national organizations. The survey carried out by IBM that is currently in focus here speaks to top security threats as reported the IBM Institute for Business Value survey. Percentages have been allotted to different cybersecurity risks, being compromised by rogue administrators or privileged insiders, has a mark of 48%, showing that organizations continue to be faced with this challenge of rogue administrators or privileged insiders, which is a huge risk for most organizations. Threats from social media activities is also one of another prevailing risk that most organizations are faced with today. Backdoors or hidden functions inserted by products used from the supply chain, things, middleware, and toolkits is another huge risk that organizations are facing today. And then malware insertions or lateral vulnerabilities in products, advanced persistent threats to enterprises, threats due to employee mobility, BYOD issued. As I said, the pandemic actually heightened cybersecurity challenges faced by most organizations because staff then needed to work from various locations and BYOD, over-reliance on privately owned devices, became a very big issue and a major cybersecurity concern for most organizations. Then threats from lost or stolen devices. Today, mobile devices are lost and can easily be compromised, and data on them stolen and then used to perpetrate additional attacks. Threats specific to cloud computing, over-reliance on cloud infrastructure is another major risk that most organizations today, because of the cost implication as regards storage, functionality, and ease of access, then migrating data and infrastructure and service to the cloud, thereby bringing the cloud space as a major cybersecurity concern for most organizations. So how vendors' risk are changing cybersecurity? As I mentioned earlier, we are as strong as the weakest link in the chain. Collaboration is everything when it comes to cybersecurity. And then we always say that the devil is always in the details. Today, most organizations have open API connectivity with service providers. We have vendors that come in. We have vendors that have been given access to our infrastructure. And of course, we then rely so much on the security within those vendor and service provider space in order to ensure that our own space is secure. So many of the risks that organizations face today can emerge from vendors. Yes, the expansion of access points through vendor increases weak links in the value chain, something attackers are constantly scanning and looking for. A compromised vendor can easily be turned into an entry point for cyber criminals. Most of the recent compromises were from either third-party service providers or vendors that organizations have given access to their infrastructure. Thereby, if these organizations are not implementing best of practices when it comes to cybersecurity, and also in terms of the hygiene practices, then this could also could result in compromises that would then impact on everyone within that value chain. A compromised third-party vendor may lead to multiple risks that can be split into 4 major categories. One is reputational risk, cybersecurity risk is another, operational risk, and then compliance risk. Some of these threats from vendors that leads to this kind of risk are human errors, privilege misuse, data theft, fourth-party risk. So best practices for vendors. One is limit access. Always make an inventory, because you cannot manage what you don't or cannot account for. Perform regular audits, including vulnerability assessment and penetration testing exercises. Then establish cybersecurity policies. Cybersecurity baselines are also a key need to have. Delineate responsibilities. People must know what they are accountable and then responsible for. Enable continuous activity monitoring based on your infrastructure and also service offering. Plan for third-party incidents response. It is key that anything that impacts an organization that you render service for invariably should or may impact you. So third-party incident response and management is also key while in relationship with third parties. Thank you. The next slide. So importance of cybersecurity. We say cybersecurity is important because it protects all categories of data from theft and damage. This includes sensitive data, personally identifiable information, which are PIIs, protected health information, personal information, intellectual property, data and governmental and industrial information systems. Some examples of cyber threats that individuals and organizations should be aware of to prevent data theft and damage include malwares, distributed denial of service, of course, the prevailing one today, which is the deep fake, SQL injection, phishing, mobile attacks, cross-site scripting, and man-in-the-middle attacks. You know, the list keeps growing on a day-to-day basis. With the expansion of within the technology space, inclusive of IoTs, big data, and AI, we have, you know, cybersecurity risk expanding, and the threat landscape, you know, keep growing. So organizations today must pay particular attention to cybersecurity and also focus on collaboration, because as I mentioned in the beginning, and of course, Bankole Williams, while running his presentation, and inclusive of Matthew, had emphasized on collaboration. Collaboration is almost everything when it comes to cybersecurity, because once the chain of security is broken, then everybody within that chain, it's impacted. So I have a third party that offers me a service, and then a compromise happens in that organization. Information that have been trusted to that third party might then be stolen, then used in terms of enhancing and plotting attacks on my infrastructure, which then makes it easier to attack me. So when it comes to you know, third party service and relationship management, we should pay particular attention to cybersecurity and ensuring that everyone within that cybersecurity chain is protected and maintains the best practice when it comes to managing cybersecurity. And also worthy of mention is the due diligence you know, exercise that has been mandated by the regulators, that is Central Bank of Nigeria. This due diligence exercise is an annual event, and it actually speaks to, you know, engagement with the with our third-party service providers and ensuring that they meet not just the baseline, but they meet the maximum requirements to continue to offer safe services to us. I'm sure most of us have been engaged in this, deliberations and exercise over the years, where we actually engage with third parties. We get to know the baseline cybersecurity implementations they have implemented within the environment. We evaluate this, and then of course we pass our recommendations, believing and ensuring that these recommendations are implemented to make the whole chain of security better and stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you for highlighting the common cyber attacks that we currently experience, the malware, the phishing, deepfake, and then the mobile attacks going on right now. Thank you for reminding us all that to have deep awareness of cyber attacks and how to prevent it. I say thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Michael Ayima, will speak on the current FX issues and the FirstBank support to our partners. Welcome, Mr. Michael.
Okay, good
Hello,
morning.
Mr. Michael. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, my colleagues. Good morning, external presenters. Good morning, our dear partners in business. I'll be presenting on FX. I don't have any slides because it's meant to be interactive. And then it is what it is. So I'll try to be as interesting as possible. We've heard a lot about compliance, a lot about cybersecurity. These are very serious issues, and we should take them very serious. But I want to talk about another serious issue, which is FX. I know it's quite serious, so, but I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. The FX situation today is what it is. It is quite unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. I mean, historically, Nigeria has always had liquid FX market we if you want to buy money in the official market, you can easily get to buy. But of recent, we are going through a lot of liquidity crisis, and that has made it very difficult for people to get access to FX. So today, for example, if you have a transaction with FirstBank or with any other person, and it is legitimate for purchases, which means it complies with CBN's rules and regulation, and you want to buy, you find it very difficult to get dollars to buy. So I'm going to talk about what's happened today, the current situation of things. I'll talk about the issues we are having. I'll talk about expectations, our expectation of the FX market in terms of pricing, rates, and liquidity, and then what we can do to help each other. So currently, the central bank remains the largest supplier of FX in the market. They typically sell into the IE market, what we call the investor and exporters market, which is where we have liquidity in the official market. They also sell at the retail window, where they sell to specific clients. Now, the central bank typically sells to customers directly. Now, that's very important. Before this era, central bank sells to banks and bank sells to customers. But in this instance, the central bank sells directly to customers. So the decision as to who to sell to doesn't come from the banks, it comes from the central bank. Central bank decides who gets what, both in the retail window and in the IE window. So we'll go with your request, send it to central bank, and in their infinite wisdom, they decide who to sell to. Now, because of this, customers have to search for liquidity themselves. They have to search for money to buy themselves. So customers will typically get across to other customers or go to their bank if their banks have to sell to them. And usually what you see, even before people that want to sell get to the bank, they will have sold already to customers. So all they do is just tell us, look, this money has been sold to this customer, just buy it and sell to that customer. So the bank has very, very limited role in this regard. The bank ideally should be the source of liquidity. The bank should be able to buy and sell. But because of the peculiar nature of our market, the bank has a very, very limited role to play in attribution of FX to customers. So it's quite difficult. So at the CBN window or at the interbank market or the IE window, the bank has very limited role to play today in deciding who gets what when it comes to FX sales. The other market is the parallel market, or what we call the alternative market, which is the most liquid market. Sorry, can you see me? My video is showing. Somebody is asking for. My video is on.
So they may need to scroll a bit through the video because your video is on, but people may need to scroll to be able to see.
No, what you can do, Chioma, is to remove this.
The slides, yes.
Exactly. It will become prominent. Okay, so I was saying the other market is the alternative market, or what we call the black market, the parallel market, which is the most liquid market in Nigeria today. That's where you can buy and sell. So we have people who go there to buy both the transfer market or the cash market to settle their transactions. Now, so there are people who have legitimate businesses. What now should buy from the interbank market, but because the interbank market is not as liquid, they go to that market to buy. That market reacts to information. That market reacts to demand and supply. It moves up and down, dependent on what is happening in the environment. So you probably will say that that is probably the fair market today in Nigeria. The official market is the official market. It is what it is. But if you want a market that responds to information, that responds to demand and supply, which is the alternative market, which is where there's liquidity. Because if today I want to buy dollars, transfer market, the market can supply that to me. Okay. If it's a large sum of money, it will fill your need over time. But that market, as I said, is not handled by bank as well. This is a market out there. And that's why it's called black market anyway. The bank is interested in the official part of the market. And as I said, the official part of the market, we have very limited role to play because attribution of FX or who gets what in the FX market is determined mainly by the central bank, who is the largest supplier of FX in the market, and then people who are also selling to the market. So it's very rare to see somebody today bringing money into Nigeria and sell to the banks. It's very, very rare. Most of them will have sold to somebody before they get to Nigeria already. What are the issues here? So what are the issues? The major issue remains liquidity. Liquidity here means when we say an asset is liquid, a liquid market or liquid asset is an asset you can easily buy or sell at the fair price of the asset. So today, the major issue in the official market is liquidity of FX. Can one get to buy if the guy wants to buy? No. And so there's no liquidity in the FX market, in the official FX market. This has made things quite difficult for our vendors who want to import things. And so many times they have to wait for such a long time to get FX. So liquidity is a major problem. Another issue is supply. Liquidity is different from supply. Liquidity has to do with ability to buy and sell. Today, most people are on one side, most people want to buy. So the market is not liquid. But another issue is supply. Supply has dried up in the market. Before now, we used to have a lot of foreign investors coming into the market to sell. We used to have people who are bringing us FDI, foreign direct investors. We should have the central bank also selling into the market. But because of the environment today, because of the nature of environment we have today in Nigeria, a lot of people are not willing to come. In fact, the people who are in, the investors who are in, foreign investors are willing to run away from Nigeria. So we have a dearth of supply. Supply is extremely limited. That has made central bank a major supply. Some central bank probably supply about 90% of our total supply in the FX market. And since central bank determines who gets what, it makes it difficult for people who don't have access to the central bank to get money. So supply is a major issue. Will that improve anytime soon? I don't think so. As long as the world continues the way it's going, as long as interest rate is going to start going up in the international market, in America and developed countries, what usually happens is you see capital moving away from emerging markets and frontier market like Nigeria back to America, back to England, and back to developed countries. So issue of supply will remain an issue for a while. But as you know, simple economists will tell you that if demand is high, supply is low, what should happen? Price should move. Price should move to a point where demand and supply will balance off. That is the third issue. The third issue is the pricing of the FX. Because Naira is overvalued, depending on the model you are using, Naira is overvalued. Some people will tell you Naira is about 30% overvalued. If you use the real effective exchange rate model, Naira should be around 540, 550. If you use the purchasing power parity, Naira should be around 520, 530. Even the central bank today sells Naira at 443, 445. Meanwhile, the official market rate is 415, 410, 415. So obviously, Naira is overvalued. We all know that, including the central bank. Because the pricing is not appropriate, people who are willing to sell dollars, people who have dollars to sell and are willing to sell in the official market are not willing to come. Because if the pricing was fair, assets in Nigeria will be cheap. Those assets have intrinsic value, and you will have expected things to come, or for dollars to come to buy those assets. But the Naira is not properly priced. Depending on any model you're using, Naira today is overvalued, at least by 20% in some instances. And that's why I say the alternative market might be a fair way of knowing the level of the Naira, around 540, 550, using any model you want to talk of. So we have three main issues. We have liquidity issues, we have supply issues, we have pricing issues of the currency. And talking about pricing, the massive differences in different prices is creating a lot of arbitrage opportunities. That's also an issue. So today we have prices at 415, we have prices at 440, we have prices at 550. Because of the different prices for different markets, that creates arbitrage opportunities, and that is also not good for the economy. An efficient economy is an economy where a single asset, like dollar naira or naira today, will go for a single price. But here we have multiple prices for naira. So it's also not very good. Those are the issues we have. What is our expectation? Well, we don't think the liquidity crisis will change very soon. The regulators have not indicated in any way that they're going to change their modus operandi, which means we don't expect any major change in the way things are. And don't forget, next year is an election year. So, I mean, next year is a year before a major election, general election. So things will probably remain at these levels for a while. So in our expectation, we do not expect liquidity improvements next year. We don't expect that. CBN has a bit more of dollars to sell today. CBN has a reserve of $41.3 billion, but CBN is also managing the reserve. So they are not selling aggressively into the market also. So we don't expect much to happen. What we think might happen is that the official rate of 415 might move up. Because as I said, CBN today is selling at 443 to customers. Today, CBN sells at 443 to customers. So we think that by the time we cross December 31st, CBN will adjust the rate to reflect the rate at which they sell money to customers. Okay, that's what we expect. So next year, 2022, we think Naira will lose a bit of value. 443, 450 official. Will it get to 500? I don't think so. Even though we think that's where the fair valuation should be, but minimum price of the Naira will be around 440 next year in our expectation. Okay. Now, it's not all gloom. I mean, so there's certain good news. Let me point out some of the good news we have. One, oil prices are quite high. Today, oil price is doing $82 per barrel. It's been at this level for a while. It went out to 79 last week, but it's come back to 82 again. I'm talking about Brent now. We think it's going to continue like this for a while. We are going into winter, and during winter, demand for energy increases. So demand for energy both in US and Europe will increase. So there will be more demand for oil. So oil price might even, in fact, some people are projecting it might get to $100 per barrel. That is positive for Nigeria, even though we are not getting as much from the oil prices as we used to get in those days when oil prices go up because of the massive subsidy of petroleum products. It's still positive that oil prices are high, because what that means is that we can get a bit of accretion to the reserves. Another good news is what we call the SDR. These are security votes from IMF to countries. Now let me explain a bit of that. At the height of the crisis, IMF released statutory allocation to all countries in the world. Now, emerging markets and frontier markets like Nigeria took theirs, but developed countries have not taken theirs. So what they've agreed is that the developed countries should give their own to the emerging markets. So IMF is going to give $10 billion to Nigeria, for example, over a period of time. From what I heard, we are not going to collect the $10 billion at once. We'll collect $200 to $500 million every year for between 10 to 20 years. So that's also good news. The money is going to come, but over a period of 10 to 20 years, we'll be collecting $200 to $500 million on a yearly basis. So that's positive news as well. That will also increase supply. But that is the good news I have. So what can we do? What can we do between the bank and our vendors? What can we do to improve our relationship? Well, we advise vendors, where possible, they should get clients who are willing to sell their dollars to them. So most of our customers today seek for customers who are willing to sell, and most of these customers are arranged, and they get to meet them and they agree on prices. So where possible, our vendors can do that as well. If our vendors want to wait before they get FS in the market, it might take a long time. So please, the other option is to seek an alternative pricing from the alternative market. We have like $20–21 billion that come into the market every year from IMTOs, from money transfer from various countries. These monies are available, so you can also find a way of getting them. What the bank can do is to keep you in view. Anytime central bank gives us money to sell, then we can give you as much as we can. But today, the best we can do for you is take you to the central bank. Take your demand to the central bank and hope and pray that the central bank allocates funds to you. That's the best we can do today. Because the central bank determines who gets what, and most inflows we get are already sold before they get to us. So please, the best we can do today is try to get your demand to the central bank and pray that the central bank will give you enough supply. Alternative sources, well, there's a market. The bank cannot get involved in that. We don't get involved in that because the bank does not deal in that market. So you might have to find a way of getting across to that market. We don't deal in that. We deal purely with the official market. And that's what we do here. So that is what I can take for now. That's the presentation. Situation is not very interesting. The current situation is not good. It can be better. Pricing of the Naira is not fairly valued. It can be better. Supply can increase. But considering the macros and the global nature of things, supply to Nigeria will take a while for that to happen. Of course, if the central bank wants to increase supply, there are ways to go do that. They have to move interest rates up dramatically so that people will come in to enjoy higher yield. Ghana moved their policy rates by 1% up. We held our own yesterday. It was an MPC yesterday, and we maintained everything. If we want to increase supply, we should expect our interest rate to go up. But I don't think that will happen anytime soon. The developed countries are going to increase their interest rate because of inflation. And when that happens, usually more funds move from emerging market to developed countries. So to ensure that does not happen, you have to be ahead of the curve. But the central bank and the MPC is comfortable with what's happening today. So things will remain like this for a while. The best we can do is to take you to the central bank and ensure the central bank gets your request, and then pray that the central bank can give you some money. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, I can take your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. There are some questions in the Q&A chat box. From Machi Cornelia. For FX, the question goes, for FX, how do these Aboki guys source this dollar? Because I know that they still get dollars to sell at the black market.
Well, it's very simple. So today, we have a lot of people sitting on cash. Do you know that last week or two, or no, last month, somebody sold up to $30 million in the market? So there's some people are sitting on a lot of cash. If, for example, you travel and you bring back cash, you won't come and sell the cash to the bank now. You probably find a bucket man out there to sell to. The traditional role of a BDC is to intermediate between small-scale sellers and buyers. So usually what happens is if you have $100 or $500, $1,000, you go to a BDC and sell to the BDC. Somebody wants to buy, also go to BDC and buy from BDC. So that's the job of Aboki or BDC, so to speak. But because people don't trust the value of the currency, they see dollar as a store of wealth. Large players are also buying and holding. So we have massive speculators in the market. There are people that have converted all their resources into dollars and they're sitting on it and waiting. That's where they get their cash from. That's for people who are buying. What about people who are selling? And then people who are influenced. I told you we have like $21 billion coming into Nigeria every year from our people in diaspora. Most of those funds are sold into that BDC market as well. In fact, that's a major supply of BDC of funds to the BDC market. Because guys abroad, say for your friend or brother in America wants to sell dollars, you won't come and sell to the bank. Most of them will end up selling to the BDC market, and that's where the supply comes from.
Thank you, Mr. Michael, sorry. The next question is from an anonymous attendee. He says, in procuring a NOTAP certificate, it costs 5% of the total sum of the solution, and the bank wants. My question will be, will the bank also cover the cost of procuring the NOTAP?
Is it foreign currency cost you're talking about here? But I don't handle documentation. Documentation is a different department. I handle markets. And so if it is foreign currency, then there are obviously rules and regulations for the central bank as how to cover this. It will be written somewhere, so we can get back to you on that. But if it's not foreign currency, then we can have a different discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. I think the next question too is about documentation. So we'll just go back to the business and get that feedback and share with Mr. Fabian Uzechi, who asked about his form Q that he filled. Okay, the next question is from Abhishek. He says, is there a process to ease out on the NOTAP approval process between the bank and NOTAP? The current process takes a longer time to release the FX and paying to the foreign suppliers. Any assistance that we as partners can be to the bank?
So I guess they're talking about how the bank can help with the NOTAP registration process. As I said, I don't handle documentation, so we'll take your question and we'll come back to you, sir.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Let me just look for last time and see if there are any questions as it relates to FX. Okay, there's a question from Peter. FX, has CBN lifted the policy banning parallel market from selling, or is it just CBN just don't sell to BDC anymore?
The para market, as the name implies, is para, is black. CBN does not get involved in that. CBN used to sell to BDCs, but as we note, we found out CBN found out that most of the money goes into the para market, so they stopped selling to BDCs. CBN is not selling to BDCs at the moment, and that's why the Naira lost a lot of value in the BDC market, in the para market as well.
Anonymous attendee asked another question. FirstBank advises vendors to get alternative sourcing, but officially insist of pricing your FX rate at 413 per dollar. How is this practicable or possible?
That's what I said. So if I understand your question very well, when we are pricing you in terms of the things you are bringing up, we are using official rates, and then we tell you to get alternative sources. Okay, I understand your question. So you need to negotiate with the bank in this case, because if you cannot source funds at the official rate, now I'm putting myself in your shoes. If you cannot source funds, because I'm one of you, even though I work for the bank, if I cannot source funds officially at 415, and you expect me to price you on the goods and services I'm bringing at 415, then that is a difficult one. So my advice is, you have to sit down with the bank and tell the bank, look, this is not working. We can't source funds at this level, and we cannot price you at this level. This is the price at which you can get funds, and you know that's the price you can get funds, and this is the best we can do. Unless if you are still doing this at 415 and you are still dealing with the bank, that means your margin is so big that it can accommodate the differential in the exchange rate. But I think the best thing to do is to sit down with the bank and have a discussion with the bank.
The last question on Forex here, Mr. Michael, is, does the bank have Forex for school fees debts in the US?
Yes, so the school fees, the good news about school fees and health and all those is that the central bank, even the bank, can sell from their position. So if you have school fees requests, just send it to the bank, and the bank will meet your request. We try to clear them. So I think at the last count, we are cleared up to last week, if I'm not mistaken. So just send your request to your branches and to get to head office.
Okay, and the last question is from Abdul Tariu. He's asking, what happened to quarterly allocation of 20K to companies? Is it's still available?
That's from Q. Yeah, the central bank gives us what we call the SMIS funds. They give us regularly, I think every week, once every week. So if you have requests, please send it the request. But what they give us is limited. So we spend it. There's a queue, so you join the queue anytime we get, and we'll try to follow the queue as it is. So just send your request, and we'll get to you eventually also.
Thank you so much. That's the last question on FX on the queue. Thank you, Mr. Michael, for the presentation. I would go. I'm still looking through the Q&A, the question chat box. And I have a question here for Matthew. Hello, Matthew. Are you still on the call? There's a question on, are branded corporate gifts acceptable? From Cecilia Imomo. Hello, Michael. Sorry. Hello, Matthew. Okay, Matthew, muted or something.
I don't think, I think he's having a challenge, so you can go ahead.
So we would send the feedback to all our partners after the event on all your questions. There's also a question for cybersecurity, Emmanuel. The question is, how can a vendor be an access point for security breach?
Okay, thank you. I think I addressed this question earlier.
Okay.
I will give a scenario. We've had multiples of these scenarios. So a vendor or a service company gets an email, and this email is laced with malware. And because they are not running any malware security solution, the malware gets into their system, and the malware sits on an end user's machine, and then starts sending mails to us, the bank. This mail, of course, has malware, or possibly it's taking a mail from that service company and then is doing a business email compromise attack on FirstBank. And you will see, because that service provider is a trusted entity to FirstBank, most times but of course, we have our ways of trapping those mails. But for companies that don't have such level of maturity when it comes to cybersecurity, you see that those compromised mails would come into their system, and then of course it goes to probably an executive seeking for authorization for the movement of certain funds. And if this executive is not cybersecurity aware and does not have those hygiene or knowledge of those hygiene practices, they would then action those requests. But of course, within the FirstBank environment, we have multi-layer security that actually takes care of this type of attack. But you see, our advice to our service providers is that you must heighten your cybersecurity hygiene practices, not just practices, but also solutioning. Awareness is key. You must continue to sensitize your staff and also even your third party, what we refer as third party, parties to you on the need to continue to build a cyber secure environment. So it's baseline is that your third parties are an extension of your infrastructure, and their practices can impact you negatively. And this has been demonstrated in multiple cases of compromise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And thank you to all who sent in their questions. We apologize for not attending to all of them due to time constraints, but we assure you that we would provide feedback at the end of the event to all the questions that have been sent in at the end, to us. We would share our feedback to you. The next item on the agenda today is appreciating our top performing partners. And we want to welcome Mr. Patrick Yamabo, the Group Chief Financial Officer, FirstBank and subsidiary. Mr. Patrick Aram, welcome, sir. I think Mr. Patrick is not in now, but we have Mrs. Damilola Adisa. She will be anchoring this presentation and appreciation of our top performing partners. Welcome, Ma.
Thank you. So welcome once again to our partners. This is one of my favorite parts of the event because we have an opportunity to appreciate some of our vendors that have done exceptional work for us in the bank. So this event is put together for all our strategic vendors. We do use this opportunity to recognize and appreciate some vendors that have gone above and beyond during the year to ensure that they provide exceptional service to the bank. The vendors are rated based on the quality of the service that has been provided to the bank, the response time to issues that have come up, performance against our service delivery timelines, as well as consistent, excellent performance during the year. Again, particularly since we've had this pandemic period, as well as the global supply chain challenges that we've had during this year, this is especially a special recognition for these vendors. The top performing vendors in no particular order that have been recognized for the 2021 vendor engagement session are Main One, Microsoft, Neto, as well as System Tech and Mandelas. Again, we say thank you so much for your service. We appreciate the partnership with you, and we wish you all the best in our continued relationship with FirstBank. So thank you all for joining, and wishing you happy holidays as we go into the Christmas season. And with that said, I'll hand over to the new head of procurement, TC Balogun, to give the vote of thanks and to conclude on the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dami, and thank you, Chema. So I would like to thank all the participants that have taken their time out to join us in this session. We appreciate that when we call on you, you respond, and it shows the importance of our strategic alliance. I would also like to thank our guest speaker, Bankole Williams, for the awesome presentation on the topic fostering a partnership that works. So he has emphasized on the need for us to understand how both the bank and the business partners operate to ensure we have better communication, which is expected to lead to effective partnership and amplification of our outcomes. We have benefited much from this, and I believe that our business partners have also benefited. So many thanks to all our internal speakers from different areas who have taken time to provide clarifications and insights to relevant areas and to ensure that the continuity of our partners' business is key. So we thank you for your time. This has been a very insightful session. I will take back your comments and concerns to ensure that we build a long-lasting relationship, which is mutually beneficial. Please note that we would also collate all unanswered questions and provide documented responses to enable you to keep them for records. I noted a particular question on the reasons for diesel at Port Harcourt. I just wanted to mention that what we do is an auction, and it's a transparent one. So all vendors are invited for the auction, and the bid goes to the award goes to the lowest bid. So we'll still provide documented response so that you can look at it subsequently. We would also like to remind you of our dedicated email. So Chairman, can you share that? We'd like to remind you this is a dedicated email for escalation of issues to the procurement team. It is shown on the screen, so for your information and for your guidance. We thank you all for joining us today and would look forward to a better relationship. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for attending this year's event.
Are you a business owner? Been in business for a minimum of 12 months? Would you like to earn extra cash by offering financial services to people in your community? Then join one of the fastest growing business communities in Nigeria. Become a First Money agent. As a First Money agent, you get to enjoy so much that the brand has to offer. Grow your social relevance as FirstBank financial agent in your community with business expansion possibilities due to increased awareness for your existing business and increased patronage too. Also, you get to earn extra income via commissions from transactions processed from being a First Money agent. To enroll as an agent, visit www.firstbanknigeria.com/personalbanking/ways-to-bank/firstmoney or visit any FirstBank branch to get started. A First Money agent can serve every Nigerian. Service offerings include cash deposits, cash withdrawals, funds transfer, airtime top-up and bill payments, account opening, BVN enrollment, and so much more. What are you waiting for? Partner with us. Become a First Money agent today.
You first. FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two First Bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
Are you a business owner? Been in business for a minimum of 12 months? Would you like to earn extra cash by offering financial services to people in your community? Then join one of the fastest growing business communities in Nigeria. Become a First Money agent. As a First Money agent, you get to enjoy so much that the brand has to offer. Grow your social relevance as FirstBank financial agent in your community with business expansion possibilities due to increased awareness for your existing business and increased patronage too. Also, you get to earn extra income via commissions from transactions processed from being a First Money agent. To enroll as an agent, visit www.firstbanknigeria.com/personalbanking/ways-to-bank/firstmoney or visit any FirstBank branch to get started. A First Money agent can serve every Nigerian. Service offerings include cash deposits, cash withdrawals, funds transfer, airtime top-up and bill payments, account opening, BVN enrollment, and so much more. What are you waiting for? Partner with us. Become a First Money agent today.
You first. FirstBank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, oh. Carry phone make you dial the number 894. need to stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You FirstBank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, oh. Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You FirstBank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, oh. Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You